Welcome to the University of New Hampshire School of Law's 44th commencement. Congratulations to the class of 2019. Spring always makes me think of E.E. Cummings, who spent a lot of time writing about spring. Pretty much every day this time of year, I have one line or another running through my head, and today it's thinking of his gratitude for the leaping greenly spirits of trees and a blue dream of sky, for everything which is natural, which is infinite, which is yes. This is one of those yes days, where we all together are pausing, united in affirmation of your accomplishment. And what a path it has been. People say that life's about the journey and not the destination, and all of that is true, of course, a million times over, but today, guess what? You've reached a destination, and we celebrate you. Yes. I'd like to acknowledge the Board of Trustees here with us today: Cass Ardinger, Bob Baines, Kathy Green, Christian Merheb, Ken Moulton, and Chris Pope. The Board of Trustees is dedicated to overseeing higher education in the university system of this state, and we thank them for their work and their dedication at a time when the principles of higher education are more important than ever. Also on the dais with me today are President James Dean, and his wife Jan Dean is in the audience. Provost Wayne Jones and his wife Jody is in the audience. Robin Glazer, who is our commencement speaker and honorary degree recipient. Gordon Smith, our former professor, who will be an honorary degree recipient today. And Nancy, his wife, is in the audience. And a bunch of family, I think. And our Associate Dean for Academic Affairs, Mike McCann. I also want to acknowledge our faculty, who I can assure you dedicate their time and energy and passion to you, the students, and our staff, without whom our entire operation would come to a complete halt. Our faculty and staff commit their time and hearts to student success, and I thank them for being here with us today as well. So what family members do we have here today? Family members of graduates, chosen family or biological family? Raise your hands, you've got them all here. Wow. Graduates, you can be assured that your parents looked at you when you were tiny and wondered what you were going to be, what would become of you. Maybe they also wondered if your ears were going to flatten out or if you would ever, eat vegetables. But they helped you learn to read and write. They taught you the value of an education. They've celebrated and they've mourned with you your successes and your disappointments. Let's take just a moment, to pause and thank your families for all they have done for you over this time. Also, between the two of us, graduates, you guys and me, you probably owe them some free legal advice. It's pretty much the least you can do. I'd like to acknowledge a few other alumni and friends in the audience. Tom Field, our former faculty member, with graduate Martin Kubelbeck, who is, and Martin will soon be the son-in-law of Tom Field, and Jessica Field, who is a 2003 alum from our JD program, and she is Martin Kubelbeck's fiance. Jin Zhang is a 2018 alum from our MIP program, and she is Lei Yu's wife. And Anastasia Carrick is a 2017 alum from our JD program, and she is Andrew Carrick's sister. So welcome to all of you here today, too. My role is kind of like the Oscars today, except I'm not that funny, and you're all winners. So good side, bad side. Right now, I have the pleasure of introducing the president of the University of New Hampshire, Jim Dean. I don't know if it's his more than 30 years in higher education, his vast expertise in organizational behavior, his commitment to the role of the public university in society, or just sheer natural ability. But anytime you talk with President Dean about higher education, you come away with a feeling, you just quickly know that he just gets it. He comes to us from the University of North Carolina, Chapel Hill, where he served as Executive Vice Chancellor and Provost, and previously as Dean of the Business School, and in that role spearheaded the creation of some really interesting, innovative educational initiatives. During President Dean's installation ceremony, he talked about the importance of the law school at the university. Specifically, he talked about President Roosevelt's 4 freedoms and the role of law in securing them, in ensuring freedom of speech and expression, freedom of religion, freedom from want, and freedom from fear. One of his strategic priorities for the university is to embrace New Hampshire, which I love. And from following him on Twitter, I think he's doing an excellent job of that himself, from biking along the seacoast to challenging Vermont to a beer off, which I thought was pretty gutsy. Enjoying the musical talent, which is so prevalent at the university. And I think that's a testament to who he is, not just as a leader, but as a person. We are thrilled that he has joined us here at UNH, and we're proud that he's here to celebrate with us today.
Thank you so much, Dean Carpenter. And let me return the favor. A dean who can quote E.E. Cummings and is funny. I thought it was funny. Well done. Welcome, everyone, and congratulations, graduates. It is my great privilege to be here and to join with your families and loved ones to celebrate you here today. Your scholarship and your accomplishments honor our entire UNH community, and we are indeed so proud of you. Thank you, Dean Carpenter, for your wonderful introduction. And I would also like to congratulate you, by the way. While I'm very proud to have survived, barely, my first New Hampshire winter, you heard the part about where I came from, North Carolina, right? You have survived your second, and that's encouraging. I understand that they play pond hockey out here in the winter, but I don't think either one of us are quite ready for that yet. But we'll watch from the window with great interest. It is great to be here on this beautiful day in Concord. Certainly the future is bright for the class of 2019, and indeed, we are indeed so proud of you. So in addition to your outstanding academic accomplishments, our graduates have helped raise our law school's reputation both regionally and nationally. This year, UNH Law was ranked among the top 5 law schools in the nation for the study of intellectual property by U.S. News and World Report, and we were in the top 10 for the 28th year in a row. Recently, UNH Law was ranked first among 14 law schools in New England and 5th nationally for JD graduates employed within 10 months of graduation. And we were 3rd in New England for first-time bar exam performance, just behind Yale and Harvard. So that's pretty good company. Well done. Just behind. No pressure. But it would not surprise me at all if the class of 2019 does even better than that. Our graduates thrived on the cutting edge of innovative legal education. You embraced experiential learning and gained vital experience in real-world legal settings. You engaged in extensive legal residency and clinical programs, and you contributed greatly to the quality and availability of legal support offered to the people, communities, and businesses of New Hampshire. And I have to tell you, as your new fellow citizen, I'm very proud of you for that. I think that's a really important accomplishment. Thank you. But today, as Dean Carpenter said, you can put the books aside and celebrate your journey. I guess we didn't coordinate our scripts here. Celebrate the journey, celebrate the accomplishment, celebrate all of it. It's a great day, one way or the other. It's also a great day to honor those who have supported you, and we've certainly done that, your families and loved ones. We've recognized our dedicated trustees who devoted themselves to the law school's success, the great legal experts and mentors who compose our faculty, and the staff members who scheduled your classes, solved your IT issues, and kept this campus so beautiful and safe. As students, you achieved excellence in scholarship. You deepened your commitment to public service, and you inspired us in delivering innovative legal education that prepares you to excel in a dynamic global community. The world is eager for your talent. We are excited to follow your successes, and we look forward to welcoming you back as proud alumni of the UNH School of Law. So congratulations, graduates, and thank you, everyone. I now invite Dean Megan Carpenter to tell you about the tradition of our Advice from the Faculty message. Thank you.
One of our longest lasting traditions here at the law school is that every year since the first graduating class, students have voted to have a faculty member give them advice. Sophie Sparrow is recognized not just in our community as the gold standard for teaching, but all around the world. In fact, years before I got here, I was part of a law professor book club, yeah, super nerdy, and where we met and discussed her book, Teaching Law by Design. So I kind of felt like I was meeting a celebrity when I first got here. That book and other work that she has done has been incredibly influential in informing and transforming law teaching across the country. Professor Sparrow was the recipient of the prestigious UNH Class of 1938 Professorship Award last year to support a project over 3 years. She's also the kind of person who would one evening, take a group of students to a trampoline park, and then the next day travel to the Ukraine to give workshops teaching law professors how to teach. That's who she is. Please join me in welcoming Professor Sparrow to the stage today.
Okay, I'm really nervous. Dignitaries, esteemed colleagues, staff and faculty, friends and relatives and family, and 2019 graduates. You're awesome. I'm really honored to be here, but I figured out the real reason why you wanted me to speak. I figured out there were two. The first one was you wanted to see me in a silly hat. And the second one was that I've been able to teach many of you in the JD class, and you all know that I hate to lecture. So instead, I'm going to put you in groups and have you talk to each other. No, I'm not going to do that. So the good news about what I'm supposed to do is that it's not words of wisdom, because I'm not really qualified to do that. It's words of advice. And those of you who know me that I am very, very practical. So here's some practical advice. 5 words. Have a positive feedback file. So a positive feedback file is something where you put all the good things that people tell you. Now, I know that some of you don't need that because you have perfect self-esteem, confidence, and you will never make a mistake in your life. Congratulations. But for those of us who aren't that way, it's really helpful to just have this file. You can do it electronically. You can do it as a paper folder. I have a folder. And when someone says something really nice, not just like, hey, great job, but like really means it nice, and like a nice note or an email, I print it and I put it in that file. And then when I'm having a bad day because I didn't teach you guys very well, or somebody is sad because of something that's going on in their life, and I'm feeling like I'm not really adding a lot of value to the school or to anybody, I look at that file and I say, aha, because we're lawyers, right? There's evidence to the contrary. And it's really helpful. I don't even have to go into the file anymore. I just look in the direction where that file is, and I know, okay, somebody, sometime, thought I did something good, so this is great. So anyway, it's a really helpful device. It might sound silly, but I learned it from somebody else, and I have found it to be incredibly useful. So when you have a grumpy supervisor who says, hi, and knows your name, like, write that down, put it in the file. It's like, oh, good day, positive feedback. When someone compliments you on your writing and analysis, which I hope they do, and I know they will, you write that down. When they tell you that you have great people skills and you're good with clients, you write that down. Anything positive, you put it in there, and it's yours to keep and bank on. Thank you, and have a great day. Congratulations.
I'd now like to introduce our graduate student speaker. Michelle Peltz is originally from New York and currently residing in Charlotte, North Carolina with her husband Joshua and their daughter Madeline. She received her bachelor's from NYU and her JD from the Massachusetts School of Law at Andover. Michelle is most proud of completing the UNH Law LLM in International Criminal Law and Justice in a year while working full-time as in-counsel to a large publicly traded corporation and while coaching soccer for her daughter's soccer league. When not practicing law and spending time with her family, Michelle enjoys her time cooking and entertaining family and friends. I don't know how she finds the time to do that. This program has really encouraged Michelle to continue to grow in her legal career and focus on international law. I'd like to invite Michelle to the stage right now. Welcome.
Thank you. Good afternoon, everyone. Truth be told, I was the default nominee. Our graduating class really wanted Jeff Golan to speak. Unfortunately, he could not be here, as he has to be with his family in California. And on that note, I have to follow Professor Sparrow, and my nerves might get the best of me. I'd like to say good afternoon and thank you to our faculty and staff at UNH. Without you and the support that we've had as a class, and me specifically, I don't know if I would have gotten through it, and I know a lot of my classmates feel the same way. And congratulations to my fellow graduates in the graduate class, and congratulations to the JDs. I know how difficult it is, and you should all be very proud. A very special thanks has to be made to our families, those blood by and by choice. Without our families sacrificing their time while we're sacrificing ours, we would not be successful. I'm going to be a little bit selfish, and I'm going to thank someone who is the most dear person to me, and that is my daughter Madeline. And I might cry because I'm watching her right now. I know that she tried very hard to be there for me while I was staying up late at night, but she's only 5. So thank you to my husband for putting her to bed. But thank you, Madeline, who slipped a little note in my folder this morning. But this is why we do it. We do it to teach our children that no matter what we sacrifice, we're doing it for them. We're doing it for our families to give them better lives and to show them that no matter what is on our plates, we can always add more, and that doesn't mean that we're going to fracture and fall. We're strong. We're all strong people. It takes more than just intelligence. It takes the perseverance, and we've all proven today that we have the perseverance to get through some very difficult times. And here's another confession. I was very naive walking into this. I really thought doing the LLM program online was going to be a cakewalk. So I said, I'll do it full time. I'll work full-time. I'll coach soccer. No big deal. And then I had a very enlightening conversation with Professor Schur, who said, "What are you thinking?" This is a week before classes are going to start, and I'm like, "No, I got this. It's no big deal." And he's like, "This is a lot." And I'm like, "I've got this. I'm a very competitive person, and my biggest competitor is myself." And I said, "No, I committed to doing this just like we all did." And I did it. And quite frankly, I did it kind of well. I'm here now, right? But the big thing is that the online forum has some negative stigmas, that we are isolated, and that it is easier because we're online. And I want to focus on that today, that I was wrong. I was really wrong. It is difficult, and especially in this asynchronous environment that we're in, where we are expected to spend time to put together thoughtful, responsive answers. Thoughtful, responsive answers. Natalie's laughing, Madeline's waving. Thank you, ladies. This is not real-time environment. This is an environment where we have a moment to put together our thoughts and respond. And we want to be thoughtful in our responses because we are academics and we are supposed to be intellectuals. So as we're doing this, we want to have engaging conversations with our classmates. But we don't know our classmates. We don't see our classmates. And that makes things a little bit more difficult. And then someone posts something and you're like, what are they thinking? How? And a lot of that comes from the fact that we have students who are coming from a lot of different cultures, countries, environments. I had classmates from Australia. I had classmates from Africa, from Canada. I had classmates who were moving cross-country, who were military families. We all come from different backgrounds. We all have different opinions. And then one day, I met Jeff, like most of my classmates did, and I realized that we're not alone. And even though we're very different, we can actually work together to make our learning environment better. And we would post things to encourage and spark more conversation and more communication. And then I was fortunate enough to meet my classmate, Natalie. And that's when it changed. Like, Natalie's like my sister now, and she's forced me to be here. The online environment is not lonely. We are collaborative. We do work together. And especially as an adult learner with a lot on my plate, I'm very thankful for the opportunity to achieve my LLM while working and taking care of my family and having met new friends who were very important to me. So I thank my classmates. Thank you for listening to me ramble. Thank you to my family. I love you, Madeline. And on a final note, as Dean Carpenter said, we are all winners today, but just remember that when you receive your first student loan bill. So enjoy the rest of your afternoon. Thank you.
Thanks so much, Michelle. I'd now like to introduce our JD student speaker, Caitlin Poole. Caitlin is from Southern Maine, but now she's firmly rooted in New Hampshire. Sorry, Maine. During her time at UNH Law, she served on the Conduct Code Council, she was on the Constitutional Law Moot Court team, and she was Chief Justice of the Moot Court Advisory Board. Caitlin has also interned with the Ninth Circuit Family Division in Manchester, the New Hampshire Public Defender, Lothstein Guerrero, and the New England Innocence Project. Outside of school, she enjoys hiking, all things Harry Potter, which I really appreciate, and spending time with her husband, Jeremy, and their dog, Toby. And as a fellow Harry Potter fan, I'll say, Accio Caitlin, wherever you are.
Good afternoon, everyone. That's louder than I thought. I guess I should start by saying I'm also the default speaker for the JD class, so tough luck for everyone's first choices this year. That being said, I do want to thank my classmates for letting me be the runner-up and allowing me to address you all today. This was really an unexpected honor, and I'm very grateful. I also like to thank the faculty and staff of UNH Law. I believe I can speak for myself and for my classmates when I say that we have felt supported and valued as students from the day we got our acceptance letters to today, where we'll be accepting our diplomas. And I know this is owing to the wisdom, the care, and experience that the faculty and staff bring into this school every day. I also want to thank the supporters, the friends and the family that have helped us get to this moment. For me, that's been my husband, Jeremy, and my mom, Denise. Law school has been a long and hard journey, and we couldn't have done it without your support, your patience, and your willingness to listen to us complain on almost a daily basis. Well, it might have been just me, but either way, thank you. There's a saying about the journey of law school that I'm sure most of you, if not all of you, are familiar with. The saying goes that during the first year, they'll scare you to death. The second year, they'll work you to death. And in the third year, they will bore you to death. I'm here today confirming that all of this is true. Coming into law school, I thought I had a pretty high threshold for fear and stress. I think most of my classmates know that before I came here, I was an emergency dispatcher. So I answered 911 calls and dispatched the police and firefighters to different crises, whether real or imagined. But as a 1L, as a new law student, I have the distinct memory of coming to the school to take my first ever law school exam and being so scared that I thought I would rather be dispatching an armed home invasion than taking this test right now. Flash forward to 2L, where they're supposed to work you to death, and they do. And I remember being so busy and so tired and so stressed that when I went to class on my birthday, I wrote the wrong date on all of my notes. I will say that the part about being bored as a 3L is incorrect. You are actually bored during all 3 years of law school. In fact, before I took civil procedure as a 1L, I didn't know it was possible to be both scared and bored at the exact same time. Sorry, Professor Graby. But that fear wasn't for the subject matter. There's nothing inherently scary about civil procedure, or Professor Graby for that matter. It's the fear of being new, the fear of not knowing the answers, and the fear of seeming less than perfect. Over the last 3 years, though, I found that the more familiar you become with the law, the more familiar you become with your classmates, the more that fear dissipates. But law school's over now. We're about to go out and start our new careers, and I don't know about you guys, but I am terrified. I know I'm not the only one here when I say that almost from the moment I started law school in the fall of 2016, people have come to me and asked for legal advice. Another person asked me about buying a small business. Someone else asked me about child custody issues, and these are just a few examples. My favorite saying since I was a 1L has been, "I'm not a licensed attorney, I cannot give you legal advice." But as we go out into the world and start our new jobs, I'm worried it's going to feel a lot like 1L, scary and intimidating. But worse, actually, because we won't have the benefit of saying, "I'm not a licensed attorney, I can't give you legal advice." And our memos and our motions won't be signed student attorney, they'll be signed Esquire. Now, I've had different jobs where I went to work and I was afraid. I mentioned before that I was a dispatcher. In that job, I was constantly afraid, almost every day. And I've listened on the phone to people trying to give CPR to their loved ones and people hiding from intruders. I've picked up the phone just to hear someone screaming into my ear, unable to tell me where they were or what the problem was. In college, I worked at a homeless shelter where I worked with a lot of people suffering from mental illness and drug addictions, and you were afraid to pick up a blanket or a backpack because if you did, you ran the risk of, getting stuck on a used needle. But these were external fears. How are other people's actions going to affect me? Starting out as a lawyer is a much different kind of fear because it's internal. It's that nagging, doubting question, am I good enough? Am I smart enough? Am I capable of reaching the right answer and giving sound counsel? And that scares me in a whole different way because the law is big and it is complicated. And what is worse, it comes with big and complicated consequences. And even after studying the law for 3 years, there's still more about the law that I don't know than I do know. But what I've come to realize is that even if you don't know what the law is, knowing how to do the research, how to analyze the results, and how to effectively present that information is immensely powerful. And this is evidenced by all those people who have sought us out for our advice and our help after learning that we were merely students of the law. Think about that for a minute. People have sought our guidance before we even knew what we were doing. And I don't say that to pat us all on the back, but because I think it really demonstrates the great need for lawyers and for legal services. And it shows the power that comes from being able to read and decipher the law, power that allows us to touch lives and create change in the world, to be forces of good in the world. So I hope when we start our jobs and things get scary because we're new and we don't know everything, that we all can remember that we have this incredible power. This power that can't be taken away from us because it hasn't been handed to us. We've earned it. We've earned it through 3 years of facing our fears, tackling endless amounts of work, and even learning how to stay awake during a boring lecture or two. I hope we can all leave here today confident in our abilities and ready to face the challenges ahead, armed with our new and immutable power. Thank you.
Thank you, Caitlin. I'd like to introduce Gordon Smith now. He is one of our honorary degree recipients today, and Gordon Smith has a 30-year history with the law school. He was a distinguished professor of IP management and really defined the field of intellectual property valuation. He served on the Board of Trustees and has helped put our law school on the map, nationally and internationally. In recent years, Gordon has been creating his own form of IP through books on photography, and his talent is incredible, but I have to say that I'm just really glad he didn't discover this talent earlier, or he may never have joined us in the first place. I have to share a little story that his wife Nancy told me the other day. Gordon was on the board of the law school before we became part of the University of New Hampshire. And so when the law school merged with UNH and we had a different governance structure, Gordon said that he wouldn't need his cap and gown anymore. And so he handed it to his wife, Nancy, and said, we can just get rid of this and, I don't know, Goodwill pile or whatever. And guess what? She didn't. And guess what he's wearing now? See, it all works out. Keep everything. Gordon, you helped to build this law school. We grow because you helped to lay the foundation, not just in the field of IP, but of the law school itself. Thank you so much. So in recognition of your pioneering work in the field of intellectual property valuation and your international leadership in bringing quantitative analysis to IP policymaking, legal education, and decision-making, we'd like to confer on you now the honorary degree of Doctor of Laws and all of the rights, privileges, and honors pertaining to this degree.
Give me a couple minutes.
Absolutely, yes. Shall we, do you want to, well, I'll leave it here and then we can hood you after.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you very much. It means a lot to me. As Dean Carpenter said, my association with the law school has been long, and it started in a rather unusual way. I was at a professional conference in Miami, 1988. One of the days of the conference, I decided to go down and swim in the pool of the hotel, and next to the pool was a hot tub. Well, I didn't go in the pool, I went in the hot tub. So I was sitting there, and very quickly I was joined by another man. We introduced ourselves. His name was Carl Jorda. Carl had just retired from a major pharma company, and he was on his way here to Concord to become part of the faculty of the law school. I, at the time, had just formed a very small group of professionals to provide consulting advice to intellectual property owners. So both of us were sort of facing an uncertain future, and we weren't sure how things were going to come out. But during the conversation, Carl asked me, would you be willing to come up to Concord and guest lecture for me? And I said, oh, absolutely. What an opportunity. So it didn't happen fast, but within a few weeks, he contacted me and I came up. As an aside, I must tell you, Professor Carl Jorda was a very illustrious member of the faculty here. He received an award, the same award that I'm receiving today, as a matter of fact. He was a very wise man, and those who remember him very fondly, the people who knew him. But my visit here was several days, and during that several days, I tried to absorb a little bit of the culture of the school and meet and talk to the faculty, which I did, and the staff. And I was very much taken by several things. First of all, the focus on intellectual property and the outstanding reputation that the school had, especially in intellectual property, which was my interest. Secondly, the international flavor of the school. And lastly, and most important, the dedication that was very obvious to me on the part of the faculty and the staff to deliver a practical, hands-on, world-class legal education. And I decided at that point I would like to become a part of this if the opportunity presents itself. Fortunately for me, the opportunity presented itself many times over the next 30 years. We have arrived today. I've stayed several days here now. I have done the same thing, observed, talked to folks, and I am absolutely delighted for myself and definitely for you that the things that brought me to this law school 30 years ago are not only alive and well, they are thriving. And that makes this award so much more precious to me. It is second only to my 60th anniversary of my wedding. It's coming along in a couple of weeks. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Gordon. I'd like to introduce our commencement speaker now, and honorary degree recipient, Robin Glazer. Robin Glazer is at the epicenter of one of the world's most successful professional sports enterprises. Her legal and business work for the Kraft Group and Super Bowl champion New England Patriots is truly an inspiration. Robin is known for her skill in navigating and executing complex transactions, including negotiating strategic partnerships with media and technology companies and drafting multi-year player contracts. She did early work also with EMI on music streaming and technology and media licensing deals. And now her pioneering leadership on the business operation of craft sports productions really stands out. I have particularly enjoyed talking with her about the concept of professional identity and building that identity through the arc of a career. Robin is committed to public service in many ways, but I am particularly grateful to her for advising a number of UNH Law students in recent years and supplying them with unparalleled mentoring. I'm going to read this degree, and then we will hood you, and then you can give your remarks. So upon recommendation of the law school, Robin, I'd like to award you this degree in recognition of your path-breaking work in sports, business, and law on behalf of the Kraft Group and its subsidiaries, including the Super Bowl champion New England Patriots. And then I'll read it. Sure, that's perfect. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. After. Yeah. We can do
Okay,
that.
okay, after. After is good for me. Hi, everyone. You ready? I stand here today, a woman on fire, feistier than ever, eager for continued personal and professional development, and also ready for the cultural evolution we seem to so desperately need as a nation and as humans. And I'm standing in front of all of you remarkable, smart, courageous graduates, with full confidence that you are without a doubt, unhesitatingly, undeniably, unquestionably, the source of our much needed next wave of progress and enlightenment, and I am heart happy. Let me back up a bit. First, thank you so very sincerely for the opportunity to be here today with all of you on one of the most important days of your lives. What an incredible honor to be in the presence of graduates, 90% of who have already participated in at least one legal residency in locations all over the country in a variety of industries, finance, retail, government, trade organizations, and law firms, among others. How great is it to receive an honorary degree from one of the top 5 law schools in the United States for intellectual property, the pillar of economic growth and wealth creation? How amazing is it to be affiliated with one of the first among a growing number of female-helmed law schools? This is a community. Yes. This is a community I could not be more proud to join. Thank you, President Dean, Dean Carpenter, my dear friend, Associate Dean McCann, for your kind invitation to be here today. Thank you, Provost Jones, the UNH Board of Trustees, and Kathy Fletcher. Thank you so much for being so kind to me today. All right, let me answer a few of my most frequently asked questions right out of the gate, just to get them out of the way. Yes, I do know Tom Brady. He is pretty special indeed, and yes, on Gronk, Edelman, Gilmore, McCourty, both of them, etc., too. Yes, I get to work with Robert Kraft. He is brilliant and generous. I would jump in front of trains for him. His son, Jonathan, is also very important to me and one of the smartest people I've ever met. Dan and Josh are pretty great, too. No, I don't go to every Patriots game. I go to the home games. Yes, I do go to the Super Bowl. I've been to 6 in my 12 years at the organization. Pretty incredible, I know. Yes, I do get a Super Bowl ring. I have 2, and I'll be getting another one in just a few weeks. I think that just about covers those questions that I really do get asked all the time. But I'll be around after graduation if you have others. I'm going to hope that by then your questions have nothing to do with football, because that would mean that what I've said resonated. But by all means, ask me anything. Speaking of resonating, I'm a graduate of both the John M. Olin School of Business and the School of Law at Washington University in St. Louis. Being the, if I can do one, I can surely do two, no kind of girl, I did a joint JD MBA, starting in the law school, leaving in year 2 to enroll full-time in the business school, and then splitting time between schools in years 3 and 4, sprinting across the quad to make it to classes. Not an easy task when the law school classes religiously ended 10 minutes late and the business classes started on the dot. So I had not one, but 2 graduation speakers, one at my law school graduation and one later in the day at my business school graduation. And if I'm being completely honest, I don't have a single memory of either one, let alone what they said. So my goal today is to say something, at least one thing, that resonates with you, that you remember years from now. Let me set your expectations for the next few minutes. Being uber competitive, I of course watched many, lots of commencement videos on YouTube. Based on my extensive research, I would say that today is going to come out somewhere slightly north of Mindy Kaling's commencement address at Harvard Law School. I mean, if I'm lucky, she's pretty great. And way, way south of Oprah Winfrey at USC. I mean, Oprah. I don't remember a time that I didn't know I was going to law school. I mean, I knew it. In hindsight, I recognize how privileged I was, because it never occurred to me that it wasn't possible because I couldn't afford it, or that it wouldn't be attainable to me because of where I lived, or that I wouldn't get in because I was a girl. I know that privilege propelled me in ways not available to others. In any case, my dad was a lawyer and I idolized him. I still do. But as soon as I was old enough to see my mother as my mom and the amazing woman she is on top of that, I knew that I was going to go to law school not to be a lawyer, at least not forever, but to be a businesswoman. My mom was very entrepreneurial, and while I was growing up, she ran companies for others and ultimately ran her own company. That's what I wanted to be, a builder of businesses. I was convinced that I could do that better than others if I had a law degree, and I still believe that's true. My inner entrepreneur was always existent. When I was little, my father would store his wallet on the shelf under the TV in his bedroom, and every night, I would come in, take the cash out of his wallet, count it, report to my father his budget for the next day, and then put it back in his wallet. To be clear, this was solely about financial planning, not about the money. I wasn't thinking about what he was going to buy me. I was his COO. That carried into high school. There I created a small business totally exploiting my best friend, Sue. I invested in a clown costume, and for a small fee, I would buy a bunch of balloons, dress up Sue, and paint her face, and she would make a spectacle out of herself. The profit margin was small, and I didn't share any of it with Sue, and she didn't get mad about it, but she lost interest. That was my first very valuable lesson in business. There are layers to building loyalty, compensation, opportunity, career development, culture. They all need to be there in some capacity. Without them, you may have people who will work for you, but they will not stay. In college, I learned relatively quickly, thank God, that being a follower, not a leader, was not for me. Then I went to graduate school, and as I mentioned before, I did a dual degree, which meant that I graduated a year after the folks I started with. In my second year of law school, I wrote onto the Law Review. The editor was a friend of mine, now a year ahead of me and in his final year of law school. A smart, great guy. It was no surprise to anyone that he was hired by a white shoe New York City law firm, Paul Weiss, Rifkin, Morton, and Garrison. At that time, it was not typical for a WashU law school grad to make it to what I would call the ship, AKA the big leagues. I wanted that. I asked the dean of the law school if he would help me, but my dean was no Dean Carpenter. I was not the top GPA in my class, so he told me he had limited numbers of favors and couldn't use one on me. Please know that's the best response you can give someone like me, because you can't beat me. My final year, I was managing editor of the Law Review, the business person, of course. I also won every negotiation competition at the law school, and together with 2 friends in the business school, came in first in a business pitch competition. I was convinced these would be the distinguishers I needed. Surely these firms would want more than just the top GPA. I reached out to my friend at Paul Weiss and told him I had applied. My friend went straight to the hiring partner and was probably talking to him when I got my rejection letter. Remarkably, I got a call a week later from Paul Weiss inviting me to New York to interview. I remember saying, "Are you sure you're not making a mistake? You rejected me last week." They said, "Come anyway." I flew to New York, and when I got into the cab for the airport to go home, I said to the driver, "I just flew in for a job no one thought I would get, and I know I got it." He said, and I remember this, "I know you got it too. I feel it." We were right. For those who may be curious, I did run straight to the law school to let him know. And that was my first memory of the lesson of humility. Passive-aggressive boasting didn't feel nearly as good as I thought it would. Humility is a better high. Okay, so I entered Paul Weiss as an underdog, totally outnumbered by men from what was viewed as a second-tier law school. The firm distributed active matters lists that included the names of the associate, what we were working on, and where we went to law school. Of course, the partners wanted to staff up their deals with the Harvards and the Yales and the Stanfords, blind to the fact that once we graduate, where we went is just a statistic. How we show up and perform is all that matters. But that's how it was, and I knew that meant I had to prove myself and create my own destiny. No one was going to work harder or smarter than me. I used to study those lists and strategize in my head all the different industries and deals to which I wanted exposure. Then I would hunt down those partners and knock on their doors asking for work. Nights, weekends, it didn't matter. At first, they looked at me like I was nuts. Finally, one said, "Crazy woman, come in tomorrow." From then on, I did most every deal he did. I repeated this pattern with other partners. If you did interesting work, you were not safe, I found you. I wanted to learn as much as possible, as quickly as possible. In my 4th year, I got a call from a partner looking for someone, anyone, who could do a deal that had to be completed fast, and found me in the office at 10 o'clock on a Friday night. And side note, I am not proud that I spent most every hour of my early 20s in the office. Please, please, please do not do that. But you see, EMI recorded music had just entered into the world of new media. That's what digital music was called at that time. The major record labels were caught off guard by Napster and illegally traded MP3s. Unlike other majors, EMI hired a technology entrepreneur to put together an executive team to conceive new business models and revenue streams from digital music. He had just landed a $40 million deal that needed structuring, negotiating, and closing. The second time I spoke with him, he told me I was going to move to Hollywood to work with him. I laughed it off at first. He was a crazy tech entrepreneur, so very different from the conservative lawyers and business people I'd become used to. But then I remembered, I want to be a builder of businesses. How could I pass up this opportunity to literally build a business that didn't exist yet? My final hurdle was my family. I'm very close with my parents. I live across the street from them today. And before you say, what? Let's just say I haven't shopped for toilet paper or paper towels in years. They just automatically appear in my pantry. So there's that. In any case, at that time, I was living in New York, and they were in Boston, and I worked around the clock, and I barely saw them. I expected them to adamantly reject and move across the country. Here's how the call went with my mom. So, you've been offered the opportunity to become a business executive creating a new business that has never existed before? Bye-bye, we'll visit. I was living in Hollywood within 4 weeks. When I arrived at the Hollywood Records Tower, my new boss had told about 50 different companies that he would do a deal with them yesterday. So everyone was calling me to get theirs done. The only problem was that there were no deal structures and no agreements for anything, no precedents. We were making everything up as we went. Here's where everything I did at Paul Weiss paid off. I figured licensing music for new technologies was kind of similar, in a way, sort of, to licensing Calvin Klein underwear. And we were kind of like venture capitalists, investing music, not money, no? Well, actually, yes. I could build lucrative deals based on those structures. In my 4 years at EMI, we did more new media deals and made more money than any other record label. EMI was my first memory of knowing that I can always figure out a way to do things, to get things done. My answer never had to be no. If there's no direct route to get there, I'm going to navigate the side streets. I became scrappy. Soon, however, it became clear that the music business culture did not align with my values, so I left EMI and moved back to Boston. It took me 3 years after landing back in Boston to get to the craft group. By then, I had made the transformation from a lawyer to a business person with a legal background. The Crafts were aware of that, but had an upcoming need for a new lawyer for the football team. The conversation was, we'll give you lots of non-legal work to do, but you have to do that lawyer stuff even though we know you don't want to. I said something like, okay, but I've never watched a full professional football game before. If the choice is between watching Project Runway or a football game, it's Project Runway every time. Jonathan Kraft responded, we are not looking for a football expert. We need someone who could do good, smart deals for the organization. Can you do that? I said, in my sleep. 6 weeks later, 13 hours of interviews and meetings, I became a Kraft Group employee. 12 years later, I'm a generalist, a jack of all trades. That makes it hard to create an easy-to-understand professional identity. I can't describe what I do with an acronym that starts with a C, and that gets a bit frustrating. But I love knowing a lot about a lot and being able to jump into virtually any situation and know how to figure things out. The craft group is involved in a variety of businesses. I've been involved in some high-profile non-football and football matters. In football, if it ends in -gate, I've been in it. I've had many rewarding experiences, but for me, one stands out because it epitomizes for me an example of jumping in, figuring things out, and leading with purpose and heart. At the end of the 2017 season, we were lucky enough to participate in Super Bowl 52 in Minnesota. We decided as an organization that if we had the opportunity to participate in the Super Bowl, and that season, if you may remember, it literally came down to the last minute of the AFC Championship game. We were going to attempt a never done before by us, the NFL, or any major league sports team concept. We would build a pop-up television studio in Minnesota dedicated to Patriots programming 24 hours a day, up to 10 hours live per day, for the 6 days leading up to the game. We called the initiative the Not Done Network, and it streamed live on the Patriots site. We were proposing to build a fully functional television studio in about a week, and we could not start working on it in earnest until the game ended. So in a period of 1 week, on a very tight budget, we had to find a venue to locate the studio in Minnesota, design and build the sets. I actually worked with someone in Massachusetts because, again, who knew anything about Minnesota? Identify and engage on-air talent, and it was important to me that we have both a man and a woman treated equally, regardless of their experience level. Line up all the production resources, human and technical, deal with union crews and union requirements, set up a production office for about 50 people, procure craft services for production crew and staff. And once we knew we were going to be in 12,000 square feet of space at Mall of America, we wanted to invite fan interaction, so we designed and built a fan space around the sets with exhibits, games, fan experiences, and concessions. The effort involved about 50 people, a diverse group of people, full-timers, freelancers, local union crew, coming together in an urgent, chaotic, challenging way. This became an opportunity to lead with purpose and heart. We needed to immediately and at the outset create an instant community. The night before we turned on the lights, we convened everyone, and I told them that the week was going to be really hard. But we could do hard things by showing up for each other every day, making each other look good, owning our own roles, but also pitching in, helping out, do whatever needed to be done. In Belichick speak, that would be, there is no I in team, but there is an I in win. That week, wherever we came from, we were all colleagues and equals at the Not Done Network. It was a wildly successful week. No one could believe that we set up and executed a pop-up that rivaled the Veteran Sports Network. We lost the game, but for me, it was one of the biggest wins of my professional life. We built a business, created a rewarding professional opportunity for others, and got their loyalty and commitment, their very best in return. Okay, if you're still with me and not thinking about the graduation party that starts when this ends, thank you. I've spent time, maybe too long, on how I got to where I am. I did that because anytime I meet someone, I want to know their story. That's some of mine. But please stick with me just a little bit longer, because here's where things get fiery. I'm sure many of you have heard the story of the donkey who fell in the well. The farmer decided it was easier to bury the donkey with dirt than to get him out. Each shovel load of dirt ultimately created the steps for the donkey to climb out of the well. That story is associated with resilience, shaking off tough times and stepping up. But the bigger theme is what you choose to do with your experiences, your story. With every experience, you either rise or you get set back. Experience is the source of who we decide to become. It informs our choices. And life is full of a lot of things that we can't control, but we can control our choices. The choices we make every day, despite whatever choices we made yesterday, and also as a result of those yester choices. I'm not here to teach you anything. I'm here to share some of my dirt and some of my choices and my hopes for what you choose. Here are 8 things I hope you choose. If it doesn't support, lift, build, grow, develop, empower, or love someone, don't do it. Do not do it. Genuinely and authentically root for others. If you get to do amazing things, bring others with you. You may not have grown up with the same type of privilege as me. Maybe you have, and maybe you've been more privileged. But in any case, all of you UNH Law School graduates have now earned a privilege that will propel you in ways not available to others. Use that privilege in the service of others. Opt in. Women, lift other women. And if the opportunity is there, lift men. And men, you must lift women. In my experience, many men around me have benefited from what I call the BC hockey team effect. I'm not talking about BC per se. I could have said UNH or Stanford or any other school. I'm talking about the opportunities men share with their former teammates, their friends. How'd you get that job? Well, this guy I played football with at Syracuse called me. How did you know about that investment opportunity? My teammate from UNH told me about this great company and brought me in. I have no issue with this phenomenon. I think it is fantastic. What I'm saying is, open that up to the women you know. Share the BC hockey team opportunities with them. We all know that we have a long way to go towards equality, and it may feel like your one-offs make an insignificant impact, but that is not true. When you do that, you plant seeds of trees you'll never sit under, and that is as good as it gets. Be soft. Are you cringing when you hear that? Not a word typically associated with a lawyer, huh? But stick with me here. What I'm saying is build your emotional intelligence, your EQ, with as much earnest and urgency as you build your IQ. Operate from your heart as well as your head. Being soft like that elevates good leadership to great. EQ forces the focus on the people driving the bottom line, not just the bottom line. Make relationships your top priority and build all types of them. Inspire with hugs, the professionally appropriate kind, of course. Offers to be part of a whole that is greater than its parts, and the feeling that we're all in this together. I read a quote by one of our recent draft picks, a 6'3", 255-pound defensive end from Michigan, Chase Winovich. In commenting about Michigan coach Jim Harbaugh, who recently changed his approach to become softer, Chase said, "He's with us. He just wants us to win, just like we do. He wants to succeed, just like we do. He's not the pointer-outer, like go here or go there. He's in there with us." That approach appears to have worked. Chase elected to delay entering the NFL to give a 5th year to Michigan, saying, "It's just a matter of hanging my hat on something, saying I came here to make Michigan great." That was a win for Michigan, and also a win for Chase, as analysts said that staying a 5th year improved his draft stock. Companies and its leaders need to convince you through clear and kind leadership, toughness balanced by tenderness, a thoughtful, inspiring work culture, a promise of opportunity and professional development, and a community you are proud to be part of, those layers I mentioned before, that you want to dedicate yourself to us and our company. We may get you without all of that, but like my best friend Sue, you won't stay. Hold us accountable. If we don't create a culture that aligns closely enough with your values, what you stand for, leave us. Note that this does not mean that companies and its leaders can't operate without ambition, urgency, and drive. It means we must do that better. When we do that, we get an army of loyalists who believe they are true contributors, authentically part of something really great, and that's when we get their best. So that means you need to know what matters, what you stand for, what matters to you. I believe we all walk around with branding on our backs. Mine is Glazer and also Kraft. Everything I do personally and professionally is with a sense of how I want those brands represented. I want to make them proud. And to do that, I've had to define specifically, and this is an ever-evolving process, what it is that I stand for, what matters to me. If you don't stand for something, you'll fall for anything. So figure out what matters to you. Perhaps it is the scourge of hate that infiltrates the media, the internet and social media, and is acting itself out in our churches, temples, and mosques. Perhaps it is shockingly awful legislation in Alabama. Maybe it is a variety of inequities faced by people of color. Maybe it is the senseless intolerance of sexual orientation and gender identity. Could it be educational inequality, or homelessness, mental illness, opioid addiction, or any of the thousands of other issues that require our attention and efforts? Figure out what it is, then stand for stuff with actions, not just words, even if it is hard. As Kyle Korver wrote recently in his incredible piece, Privileged, believe in something, and when you do, make sure people know that about you. If they admire you, look up to you, are inspired by you, make sure they know what you stand for. Work harder and smarter than anyone else. Aim high, do things that feel scary and uncomfortable. Navigate the side streets. Figure out a way to get things done. Don't let the setbacks set you back. If I included all of my setbacks in this address, we'd be here for a week or two. And some of my biggest professional setbacks have been recent. I really do try to view them as opportunities. Sports law is also one of your school's strong suits, so some of you may be looking at me in my role with the Patriots and saying, she has everything I want. The truth is, I don't even have everything I want. I have what I call eyes on top of my head, which means I always want to do more and be better. So often it feels like there is more I can be doing personally and professionally. That definitely makes things harder than they should be, but I choose it. I choose to believe that I am meant for more, that everything I do is on a path to all I can be. We have to welcome mistakes, setbacks, and failure because we need them in order to learn. The key is to keep all of that as small, infrequent, and forgettable as possible. And while on that path, we have to be great wherever our feet are. Just kill it now, where we are, on the way to where we want to be. You are meant for everything you want. Choose that. Two more. Keep your eyes wide and your eyes wide and your ears hot. Be a forever student and take yourself to places you don't get to be so you can see and hear and learn things you otherwise would not. Take an interest in your community in whatever way interests you. There are no short of issues to understand and address. Our future producers, consumers, clients, and employees are coming from all areas, all socioeconomic and socio-emotional backgrounds. And the more you know is literally the more you know. And the more you know, the more you can do. What I'm saying is find an area that interests you and support it, change it, impact it, jump in, participate with intention, all in. And be incredibly, authentically, emphatically kind. You will never regret being kind. And you will be surprised how much better your results can and will be when you make it a habit to lead with your heart. Get fiery and feisty like me. I am rooting for your rise. Thank you.
Thanks so much, Robin, and congratulations. Now, we've come to the big moment for the awarding of degrees. I'd like to welcome the degree awarding party to the stage, please. Do I start now?
I think once we're set up.
Okay. Will the Juris Doctor candidates please stand? In recognition of the satisfactory fulfillment of the course of study and all the requirements pertaining thereto, the University of New Hampshire School of Law hereby awards the degree of Juris Doctor with all the rights, privileges, honors, and marks of distinction pertaining to those elevated to this degree. Congratulations. You may be seated.
Scott Amankwatia. Sagar Antala. Nicole Waldau Antonetti. Nicholas Stephen Arnold. Chinmay Bagway. Elizabeth Jane Barrett. Samantha Balpray. Justin Bedard. Jacob Beeman. John Bajorn. Nicholas Blanton. Elora Borkowski. Walker Bowman V. Matthew Thomas Breckus. Connor Alexander Buckholtz. Aaron M. Carey. Carly Marie Changer. Jeffrey Donnell Cheney. Catherine Corville. Eileen Dubereau. Michael Eaton. Meredith Rose Farrell. Ryan Scott Fisher. Bradley Scott Flagg. Caitlin Garvin. Daniel Geary. Kyle Jabot. Margaret Haggerty. Samantha Hearing. Christina Kataoka. Andrew Carrick. Martin Kubelbeck. Jenna Labar. Timothy Lenahan. Curtis William Lockhart. Lynette Macumber. Justin Frederick Magsarilli. Elizabeth Marcotte. Kelly Ann Martin. Trevor Pratt McCourt. Catherine McDonough. Matthew Joseph Miller. Lindsay Ann Nisevich. Thomas Daniel Palermo. Emma Catherine Perro. Marcy J. Pearson. Caitlin Foster Poole. Lauren M. Pritchard. William Patrick Reddington. George H. Romania. Elise Romberger. Brian Rose. Michael Salas. Matthew Solomon. Angelina Spilios. Anna Spone. Emma Stilson. Kelsey Eileen Sullivan. Jacob Wagner. Lei Yu.
Will the Master of Laws in Commerce and Technology candidate please stand? In recognition of the satisfactory fulfillment of the course of study and all the requirements pertaining thereto, the University of New Hampshire School of Law hereby awards the degree of Master of Laws in Commerce and Technology with all the rights and privileges, honors, and marks of distinctions pertaining to those elevated to this degree. Congratulations.
Wen Young Han.
Will the Master of Laws in Intellectual Property candidates please stand? In recognition of the satisfactory fulfillment of the course of study and all the requirements pertaining thereto, the University of New Hampshire School of Law hereby awards the degree of Master of Laws in Intellectual Property with all of the rights and privileges, honors, and marks of distinctions pertaining to those elevated to this degree. Congratulations.
Hyung Jin Kim. Aishwarya Maisuru Sagar. Ting Wan.
Will the Master of Laws in International Criminal Law and Justice candidates please stand? And you too, Madeline, I think this is part your degree as well. In recognition of the satisfactory fulfillment of the course of study and all the requirements pertaining thereto, the University of New Hampshire School of Law hereby awards the degree of Master of Laws in International Criminal Law and Justice with all the rights and privileges, honors, and marks of distinction pertaining to those elevated to this degree. Congratulations.
Michelle Peltz. Natalie June Tackaberry. Bruce Jean.
Will the Master of Intellectual Property candidate please stand? In recognition of the satisfactory fulfillment of the course of study and all the requirements pertaining thereto, the University of New Hampshire School of Law hereby awards the degree of Master of Intellectual Property with all the rights and privileges, honors, and marks of distinction pertaining to those elevated to this degree. Congratulations.
Jeremy Berger.
will the Master of International Criminal Law and Justice candidates please stand? In recognition of the satisfactory fulfillment of the course of study and all the requirements pertaining thereto, the University of New Hampshire School of Law hereby awards the degree of Master of International Criminal Law and Justice with all the rights and privileges, honors, and marks of distinction pertaining to those elevated to this degree. Congratulations.
Rosa Gian Gregorio. Lynn Willis.
I ask all graduates today to now stand for the conferring of degrees by the University of New Hampshire. President Dean.
By the authority vested in me as president of the University of New Hampshire, and in recognition of the satisfactory fulfillment of the courses of studies and all requirements pertaining to the degrees awarded, I now confer upon you the rights, privileges, honors, and marks of distinction pertaining to those elevated to these degrees. Congratulations.
You may be seated. You know, when my son started kindergarten this year, he asked me, "How long does this last?" And as incredibly depressed as I was to answer that question for him, for you all, I think we've reached our destination. And now the fun begins. Let's just think for a second of all the future clients out there around the world who are waiting for you, who need your unique expertise to defend them, to stand up for them, to figure out what fairness means for them, or to make some clarity out of total complexity. To keep Roosevelt's 4 freedoms in place, lawyers are essential for that. In the time-space continuum, sort of the Doctor Who universe, these people are out there somewhere, and they are waiting for you. Think of the hundreds, thousands, hundreds of thousands of people who are going to be better off in their lives because you, uniquely, throughout your career, have the tools to help them. And all the while, us, we're going to be here. We're always going to be here for you. We are going to follow your path, and we're going to cheer you on, and we will always welcome you back home. Because I think of you also as family. So you came in as 1Ls, and we also wondered what was going to become of you. We didn't really care whether you're eating vegetables or not, but we want you to stay in touch with us. Come back and share your experiences in classes, in the legal professions class. Supervise future students as legal residents. If you received a scholarship, pay it forward. You can fund a scholarship in honor of something that you're passionate about or a beloved professor. And we are happy to be your professors and your mentors throughout your career. And right now, on this journey, just stop for a moment and be totally, unabashedly proud of yourself. All you have accomplished, it is hard. And you have arrived here today. Yes, celebrate this moment which is infinite, which is yes. Thanks to all of you, and congratulations again to our graduates. I'd love for you to join us for light refreshments in the tent across the bridge. And to everyone, if you could wait, this is kind of like a wedding, so if you could wait for the faculty and the graduates to leave before exiting the tent. Have a wonderful day.
Mm-hmm.